Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome again. It's going to be a little bit like, professional, but at the same time sentimental session for me. Because the guy sitting over there is not like a only important person only for insider and also like, for me personally. And I think he's like a great constitution of investors. Don't have to be only your investors. At the same time, they can be your friends. Sometimes they can be your mentor. They can be your American family. They can be at the same time someone who intervenes at the very right way to question you, to be able to find the or make the right judgment calls. So I think apart from being a great investor, great board member, he's also a great depiction of showing and proving that being an investor in a company is also about a whole partnership. So he's a great partner at the end of the day, by all means. So welcome again, Alex.
Thank you, Hande. I really, it's wonderful to be here, and I want you to know you delivered that introduction just like I wrote it. So, thank you.
No, I have another intro actually, but of course, obviously written by us and feelings coming from the heart. So Alex is actually someone who has played a defining role in shaping the global technology investment landscape so far. Not only in US, also in different countries. And I think his belief is in founders, his belief in founders continues to accelerate innovation all around the world. So Alex is actually leading General Atlantic's global technology investments and serve as the global head of new investment sourcing, driving the firm's thematic approach to identifying the next generation of category-defining companies like Insider. You also co-head the Emerging Growth platform, where you continue to champion some of the most ambitious founders of our time. Before joining General Atlantic, in addition to being a huge Yankees fan,
this is true.
You spent over a decade at Insight Venture Partners, helping scale many of today's iconic software and internet businesses. And I think you began your career at Credit Suisse.
Correct.
And advising global energy and power companies. But your true calling emerged in partnering with founders to transform early ideas into enduring companies. And for us at Insider, this story is also personal for me. You are and you were one of the key people who believed in us, who helped us make our partnership with General Atlantic a reality. And then Alex's conviction and also trust during our process means a lot to us, a lot to me, a lot to insiders. And we continue to shape how we think about building long-term together. And I think what makes him truly remarkable is only not the track record of his investments, and at the same time, your partnership mindset. You don't just back the businesses, you also back people, your patience, conviction, and ability to see the bigger picture have made you one of the most respected investors in tech world. So it's an honor and my pleasure to have you with us today, a visionary ex-investor, my family in US, a true partner to founders, and someone who continues to inspire the next era of the global innovation. Welcome one more time. Now,
thank you very
that's
much.
the real
I was just say, that could be the nicest thing I know.
Lots of great memories together. I remember I was in US last year, maybe these times, like November, December. Yeah. And then, to be honest, we were talking with 5 to 6 different companies. And then I decided to go to US to make finalize the process. And I was thinking about meeting with all of them and make it a decision call and then come back to Istanbul. But I think not only in terms of the vision that he has shared with us in terms of being a partner, he also stolen our hearts by taking very sweet actions. One day he called me and then he told me, come over, I'm going to take you somewhere and just come in front of the hotel. And then I went downstairs and then he was just keeping a Yankees hat and Yankees uniform. And then he told me wear it and then we went to Yankees game. which was very interesting because there were a couple of home runs, 1 or 2 home runs as far as I remember.
By Aaron Judge.
Yes, and then there was like only 2. I think no, it was the first time that I'm watching a baseball game, and lots of surprises like this. If you have an investor like this, you are so lucky. He knew that I'm a big fan of tennis and I'm playing tennis, and then we were having a dinner, and then he just got a FaceTime call from Andre Agassi. And then we made like a live call with Andre Agassi. So he's also a very known guy in sports world. But apart from being like a pretty much like person full of surprises, I think his vision on like investing in emerging market is also remarkable. Type of vision that everyone cannot like show. So I'm going to start with a question of his definition for the addressing the right entrepreneurs, right company. But before this, I would like to start with a question about the common signals when a company from non-US market is ready to go truly global, because we are in the Go Global event. And GEO has a long history of identifying global winners early, from fintech to technology companies. So what are the common signals you see when a company from a non-US market is ready to go truly global?
Great. I will answer the question, but first and foremost, I did want to take the opportunity to say what a privilege it is to be in Istanbul, and what an incredible representation of why companies that can truly be global should be here. So it's a tribute to everybody in this room. I'll talk a little bit also in answering that about General Atlantic. Christopher, who's my partner, spoke about it, but just to give you sort of contextual framework for us. So General Atlantic has 18 offices globally, 110 billion in assets under management. And, we cover 9 categories, so we really do have a global view. The other hot off the press information that I wanted to bring is this is the first time an insider actually being a part of this in a 12-month period that more than 50%, 50, of General Atlantic's invested dollars will be outside the U.S. And I think it goes exactly to the point, which is entrepreneurs who have the capacity to build global companies from their place of origin, and the reason for that, first and foremost, is exceptional people, and exceptional people attract exceptional teams. You get exceptional entrepreneurs who are really able to go global. At the end of so one of the things that came out of COVID for us was really the advent of the global entrepreneur. And I think it's no surprise that both capital and conferences like this have grown because prior to COVID, the prevailing notion was even great entrepreneurs would at some point move to a different geography. You would not be able to say, I can build a global brand out of Turkey. And that paradigm shift has happened, and it's happened solely because of the passion, determination, and really the ambition of the entrepreneurs. So really, to summarize, the thing we look at most is first and foremost the founding team. And actually, one of my early insider quotes, but we do a lot of historical benchmarking at General Atlantic. One of the greatest predictors of success for international companies is the length of time that the founders have actually known each other, which, if you think about it, makes a lot of sense. The second is the teams that they're able to build within the locality. And then the third is the ambition. Those who dream big will see those dreams rewarded. And I think entrepreneurs now are dreaming bigger than at any point in history.
And maybe at this point, I can ask you the question regarding, again, the comparison between the, of the entrepreneurs in emerging markets and also the other markets. For example, what makes you decide like this founder in this market is worth betting big on, given the fact that you are leading GA's emerging growth platform?
Yeah. So I have interesting perspective for this because I come from the U.S. So I come from a U.S. perspective, and I know we had the Commerce Minister earlier. The U.S. government is currently shut down, so it's wonderful to be in a country that actually has an efficient government. Yes, going. But you know, to think through, you know, sort of the difference and also the opportunity. Particularly from a U.S. perspective, is we actually believe it's easier, and you have an inherent advantage being an international business going global. You know, it is actually more of a challenge being a U.S.-centric business and then, you know, trying to go to the different geographies. So one of the things we were so impressed about with Insider, but it's also something that is the case with our best entrepreneurs, is that they've figured out outside the U.S. first. And you know, one of the benefits to that is that that's really hard. You know, the U.S. market is large, it's nuanced, but you know, being able to crack it is a function of a playbook that we've seen time and again. So entrepreneurs who have demonstrated the ability to be successful in markets outside the U.S. inherently demonstrate to us that they have three things. One is, you know, just incredible drive. There's no way to exceed. You know, in the U.S. you can get lucky, right? And in order to be able to excel in markets outside the U.S., you have to have, you know, best product, best team, and you have to be really driven. The second, and there's no greater example than here, is we really have seen the founders in businesses outside the U.S. They're working harder and they're working for something much more than economics. In the U.S., a lot of founders are driven. Every founder is different, but you know, are driven by they want to make a lot of money. And in international geographies, people want to make money. That's important. We're all in that business. But you could tell with great international entrepreneurs that it's about more than themselves. It's about their country. It's about demonstrating to the world that companies can truly be global in nature and not be in a geography like the U.S. And you know, you can't teach that. There's no shortcut to getting it. You can't buy it. That's in his or her DNA. And then the third is really, and whether a company is virtual or not, you see great companies outside the U.S. have teams that have really coalesced around a unique mission. Again, I go back to sort of the U.S.-centric approaches. You know, people who are working for businesses, it's a job. They care what they get paid. And not to say that's not the case internationally, but the culture that we see in our international businesses is far and away better than the culture of the businesses in the U.S. because it's really about the we as opposed to the me. And if you guys take nothing away from, you know, why international businesses are being so successful now, it's because, you know, of this team-oriented approach that allows both entrepreneurs and executives to build something where, you know, the whole is much greater than the sum of the parts. And international companies are doing that far better than domestic ones.
By the way, I was going to ask you, like, you know, whether there are some differentiators of the founders coming from emerging markets. You, I think, kind of answered this question, but do you have, like, you know, any additions?
Yeah. So the only other thing I'll say is, you know, the stories, right? Which is, you know, entrepreneurs from emerging markets often have far more interesting stories, have been through a lot more adversity to get to where they are. And that breeds great success. You know, if you sort of ask us to figure out, you know, sort of the prototype of an amazing entrepreneur, again, no two being the same, Entrepreneurs who have been through adversity, for whom it has not been easy, who have had to be resourceful, who have had nothing given to them, tends to be the case in international entrepreneurs. And that is, a huge predictor of success. And I'd say one of the most important differentiators that we've seen. It's just, how he or she grew up and the circumstances they faced, the adversity they've overcome. And you see that more poignantly with international entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And I think every single entrepreneur in this room is actually asking themselves the same question, more or less same question. Yes, you look at the numbers while you are making an investment decision, but beyond numbers, what do you look at in the founder or investor chemistry? Because given the fact that GA is a pretty much successful fund, maybe with an experience of taking more than 50 companies to public, you are a great partner if you would like to, build a long-term business. So what are you looking at apart from or beyond the numbers?
Yeah, so for us, and we have this joke internally, and you're going to appreciate this because I know we gave you a hard time in diligence looking at everything, but for our best companies, the business plans that we invested in were not the business plans that ultimately led to the outsized returns. And it sort of tying it all together, it goes back to what we look at because it's the companies and entrepreneurs who are able to innovate and adapt that are the most successful. So first and foremost, when it does come to numbers, which is important, the thing that we look at is market size, and it goes to sort of the scope of ambition. So we want entrepreneurs and companies who want to build generational companies. In order to build a generational company, you have to be going after a really, really large market. We look at metrics associated with customer economics. So again, notice I haven't even mentioned revenue yet. And we believe we're now in a world which has a customer-centric approach. So are you keeping your customers? Are you retaining your customers? Are they buying more? Are they satisfied? The paradigm has shifted from, it used to be when people said sales and marketing, they really meant sales. What was key to that sales was trying to convince somebody that your product was the best. We now live in a world where there's ubiquity in the ability to test products. And the best products literally are driven by entrepreneurs and companies who are maniacally focused on their customers. And you see that in the economics, right? You see that in, the ability to retain, NPS scores, things like that. And then the third, and we really do score this. You probably didn't know you were being scored sort of along the way. We were constantly judging. It is really the quality of the management team, but we quantify that, right? And we quantify that with very specific metrics that we've identified over time. Because again, much like life, being an entrepreneur, being a global company is not a straight line. One of the jokes that I've had is we've had a once in 100-year issue every year for the past 4 years. From COVID to every crisis we've had, not to be confused with my name, entrepreneurs have had to navigate through an environment like never before. You can tell by the questions that you ask and seeing how entrepreneurs respond what type of partner he or she will be. And look, in the case of Insider, we very quickly decided this is very much a GA company.
By the way, as you mentioned, the due diligence process, for the records, it was a very tough one. If you are considering being funded by GA, you might feel the same, but there are lots of learnings, which helps you to during your journey, because it's not official yet. It's just by the way, let's keep it confidential in this room. We are looking at also some acquisition opportunities in the U.S., and then we have signed one term sheet with one of them. And now the things that we have learned, not only from GA's due diligence and also from QAA, because QAA is also very valuable investor for Insider, very long-term investor. and then they are also, I believe, like, you know, visionaries. The things that we learned from this, like, you know, due diligence processes are really, like, you know, helping a lot while we are running a due diligence for the company that we are going to acquire. So thank you very much again. It was a lot so fun, but at the same time challenging process. I think most of the time investors are pretty much, like, you know, hesitant about you know, investing in, like, you know, Turkey or even Turkish founders. But you know, at the end of the day, we had great examples, as I mentioned in the morning session. What advice would you give to international investors in this event who are considering their first steps into ecosystems like Turkey?
So the first advice I'd give, and again, you know, some of them are competitors, so I'm hesitant to give advice. I want you all to myself. But the first, and this is an amazing example, is you have to come here. There's a lot of perception around you know, Turkey outside the U.S., not political perception, but just on you know, the quality of the ecosystem that people think is still maturing. You guys are here. I mean, you know, the Turkish entrepreneurial ecosystem is as good as any place in the world, period, full stop. And as I said, I'm responsible for 18 geographies globally, so I can't validate Antarctica, but I can tell you everything else, you know, Turkey is on par. You know, what you really do need is that flywheel, and what you are demonstrating now is that you know, it can be done, and it can be done multiple times. So for us, as Christopher said earlier, you know, we've had EMX Petty, we've had Trendyol, we now have Insider. You know, once you know, one is a line, excuse me, one is a point, two is a line, three is a trend. You know, what Turkey is demonstrating now is there's a trend here, and the trend is you know, the best entrepreneurs, the best companies can and will be built here. So as I said, the first advice I give entrepreneurs is you got to come here and see it, because the perceptions outside really belie what the facts are on the ground. You know, the second, which you know, we've seen is, you know, look at the benchmarks. I mean, look, we put, you know, the quality of Turkish engineers and executives in marketing, sales, etc., and they are top decile in our portfolio, right? Like any firm, we rank our people, we rank our CEOs. And it's disproportionately high here, and by the way, outside the U.S. Generally. And the third thing that I'd tell people is, you know, really, you know, challenge the paradigm of thinking of, you know, where generational companies will be built. And if you look at Turkey, you know, it has the talent, the infrastructure, the wherewithal. And I think most importantly now, you know, I heard the stat earlier, you know, the largest group of younger, you know, people anywhere in Europe. And that talent pool is something that's going to lead for decades and decades to come to great companies, to great entrepreneurs. So you have, you know, we travel in a lot of ecosystems, for lack of better words, and few, if any, have all the points that I just mentioned. And Turkey has them all, and clearly have support of amazing groups that have put together an event like today.
And finally, for the Turkish founders in the room, dreaming of building global businesses, what will be your, you know, message to them? And I need to do something also for them. I need to help them. How they can reach you?
Yeah, no, I'll give my.
What is the way of reaching and like reaching, you know, GA or you and contact with you? Imagine that I'm an entrepreneur. I have just raised my Series A, Series B. Now I'm at the phase of Series C or D. I'm looking for ways to reach GA or Alex from GA. How they can reach you?
Yeah, so let me start, which is, and I don't know if Anthony, who's my partner in crime here, but we want to reach you. So our goal is to get you before. Look, we are in the great company business. So we want to talk to any and all companies, and you can reach out to myself, anybody on the GA team. You know, the most important part, the advice that I give sort of entrepreneurs, which is, you know, what you talked about earlier, is the criticality of dreaming big. You know, one of the things that Hande and I bonded over, you know, when we first met is, you know, my father worked for the same company his entire life. And is currently you know, battling illness, and at the end of his career, you know, one of the things that he said to me is, you know, regardless of what I did, one of the things that I wish is that I dreamed bigger. And you guys, again, broadly in Turkey, in the entrepreneurial ecosystem, you have amazing ambitions. The thing that I would leave you with, the most important message for anybody who leaves this conference, is I hope you dream bigger, which is not to say that your current ambitions are small. They are not. You can be anything. You know, having big dreams is really important. So I'll tell sort of a personal story. My daughter's hero, I have a daughter who's 14, is actually Hande. Because you know, what she demonstrated is, and she wears a shirt that, and I often repeat the phrase, which is, young women with big dreams grow into entrepreneurs with great ambition. The important for that is, and it's gender neutral, but it's a great shirt, and my daughter wears it all the time. You have to start with the big dreams, and whatever your dreams are today, make them even bigger, because there's no cap on what you can be, you know, with that dream, with that ambition, amazing things will happen. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're dreaming, I just raise the bar on you.
For an entrepreneur or founder or for a CEO, you know, more than the, like, you know, end result or outcome of this journey itself is much more important. And what makes this journey is unique is, of course, all the achievements on the way, but people that actually, you know, that actually helping you during this journey, or, like, you know, accompanying you. Alex and Jay is one of them. And I feel very lucky that, you know, having him on board throughout this journey. And I hope that you are going to have great people like Alex, who is going to be also, like, you know, part of your journeys. Thank you all very much. And then thank you very much for joining us, Alex.
Thank you for having me
We
here.
appreciate that.